Hi guys, welcome to the Bitcoin session. Before getting into the details, reviewing what we discussed last week, let's, as usual, have a look at the disclaimer. This is for education and research purpose only and not financial advice. Please always consult your local licensed financial professionals. Let's begin. So, the pink boxes, if you have been here before, you already know these are the short-term playground zone, where the white box below is the long-term playground zone with, inflation taken into consideration. Let's make it simple as that for now. Obviously, if Bitcoin's uptick is broadened, then this box, at least the slope of this box, would have to be adjusted. So let's go back to the short-term playground zones. So this bigger pink box up here, we already know is established as early as November last year, all the way till mid-January, and then since mid-Jan, it broke out above the support of this pink box and established a mini trading range for the past 3 weeks, I would say. Is now trying to stay above the support line around 100,500 to stay within that mini playground zone. If it does break downwards, it's not a disaster. It's still a pretty wide trading range happening between 91,000, mid 91,000 to 100,000, basically, to make it simple. So, but in terms of candlesticks and volume, it seems it's not going to happen that soon. The reason I'm saying this is because on Jan 27th, this candlesticks over here with a long tail and short head, the volume bar is very high, so it had a lot of change of hands, and we can also interpret that as the price dropped very sharp, but then at that level it hit somebody's probably buying order, or some bigger trader went in. It was mid 90,000, so there was some very strong buying force pushing the price back up to over 100,000. So it's 102,000 at its close. The next day, yeah, it dropped a little, but we see this support for the Jan 28th and 29th. This is also the line, the top line of this larger short-term playground zone. So it stayed there above there. It retested it again on Jan 31st, sorry. So 28th, 29th, 31st, all these 3 days tested this support line. And then yesterday it dropped below again. So right now we have to see whether today or coming few days, whether the price or the candles can close above this support line or resistance line. So you know it's going to flip-flop when the price get break out or break through it downwards. So this is going to be an interesting battle period for the coming few days. If it doesn't stay up there, it may come back to retest the mid 90,000 or 97,000 level. So can extend it from all the way from here. Actually, late November, we see all these candles either closes above or rejected below this line. There are a lot of candles within the past 3 months at this level. So this is pretty close to the mid line of the trading zone I've drawn. So I can push it tighter. So that's how we, or how, at least how I look at the candlesticks additionally to the traditional patterns. So these playground zones within the larger range, trades could happen within the top half or the lower half. So that's the daily chart, and let's go to the weekly. So in terms of weekly, I'll set this line to just the daily interval so it doesn't affect our weekly view. So we talked about the upthrust of the distribution of Wyckoff. The yellow text, if you are new to this is another scenario that I shared about a few weeks back. At this moment, it's still more inclined to the blue scenario, not the yellow, but only time can tell. So we're still well within this short-term playground zone as I covered earlier. So this is a bigger box drawn on the weekly time frame, and if you're trading a longer time frame, the 92,000 and the 104,000, it's the range that we're looking at. So there's not much to tell. The volume isn't that big of a difference in the past few weeks. So it's probably going to still trade within this range for a few more weeks, unless there are some pretty big news happening. So in terms of narrative, obviously you already know, but I'll briefly touch on it. So either big countries or very famous corporation is going to adopt Bitcoin as a reserve currency. That's going to push it back up to test the top of this box. If, on the other hand, some big corp or large country says they are not going to take Bitcoin, it's going to test the lower boundary. And obviously there are some other black swan that can happen from a technological perspective or adoption perspective that can trigger a downward pressure to Bitcoin's price. So that's for short term. Longer term, we are not sure. So the past few weeks, we already seen, except last week, we've seen 5 consecutive weeks testing this bottom. It's, I would say, a good sign that we've got a pretty flat bottom over here, slightly upward as well, actually. So it should be quite solid for this level at about 94,000. If it really comes back to test it, we have to see how the market reacts. So it can go back up like last few weeks, or if it really stay below this box, then the next support level is time to draw this line now. It would be around the top of the buying climax and the second test. So it would be around this level, 69. Let's push it up a little to make it easier, around 70,000. So that's the top of the secondary test. So somewhere between 70,000 to 92,000 if it really falls through this pink box here, the short-term playground zone. And lastly, let's look at the monthly time frame. So we had yellow candlestick in December, and January we had closed a bit higher, and now starting with the February candle, still early to tell any story from the February candle, so we'll stick to the Jan and December candles. So Jan volume lower than November and slightly lower than December as well. So the market, maybe the steam has died down a little. There's not much news pushing the price up. Let's put it this way. So, like I said before, just now, it has to be very strong adoption narrative to push the price up further. If there's no such force driving it upwards, people's patience are going to be tested. The only optimistic thing we see is this flat bottom over here. So 93,000 would be rather solid support for at least a short while. If it really takes time for things to develop and those narratives are not realizing, there's not much strong support within this range. We can see this long candlestick, there wasn't much trading going on, so it will become this level, like I mentioned before, 70,000 at the top of the buying climax, where we started all this rally in November. So that's the story of Bitcoin, and let's see how it evolves for the coming few days. See you next week. Thanks for